Admiral Frank Miller stood motionless on the bridge of the UES Vindicator. Through the massive view screen, he watched as rescue ships darted between chunks of floating debris. Just yesterday, this had been New Eden, humanity's most promising colony. Now it was a graveyard. "Casualty report," he said, his voice low and steady despite the rage building inside him. Commander Daniel Wright handed him a datapad. "Over 30,000 confirmed dead, sir. Another 50,000 missing." He paused, swallowing hard. "My wife and daughter were visiting her parents in the capital when the attack began." Miller placed a hand on his second-in-command's shoulder. No words would help, so he offered none. "Sir," called out Lieutenant Kelly Morris from her communication station. "Incoming transmission from Earth. It's Director Norris." The screen changed to show Patricia Norris, her silver hair pulled back tightly, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept since the attack. "Admiral, the President has made his decision. The Galactic Council has been given formal notice that the treaty is void. They broke their word, and now they'll face the consequences." Miller nodded. "The Vindicator stands ready, Director. Just give the order." "Not yet," Norris replied. "First, we activate Protocol Thunderclap. The innocent shouldn't suffer for the crimes of their leaders." The bridge fell silent. Protocol Thunderclap was something most of them had heard whispered about but never confirmed. A way to reach every corner of Council space with a message no one could block or ignore. "Understood," Miller said. "We'll hold position and continue rescue operations." After the transmission ended, Dr. Olivia Grant entered the bridge. The xenobiologist's usual crisp lab coat was stained with blood and dirt from helping the wounded. "Admiral, I finished translating the intercepted communications," she said, her voice tight with anger. "This wasn't a rogue action. The entire Council Inner Circle voted for this attack, except for our representative and the Trillary ambassador." "Why?" Wright asked. "We've honored every part of the treaty." Dr. Grant pulled up a holographic display showing mineral scans of New Eden. "They discovered this last month. Quantum-stable duranium. The only deposits ever found outside their home systems. They invented the excuse about human expansion threatening the cosmic balance to justify taking it." Miller's fists clenched. 30,000 people dead for mining rights. A young officer, Ensign Peter Garcia, looked up from his scanner. "Sir, we're detecting Council ships entering the system. 5 dreadnoughts, at least 20 support vessels. They're coming to finish the job," Wright said. Miller straightened his uniform. "Battle stations. Shields at maximum. Weapons hot but hold fire until my command." Throughout the massive warship, klaxons sounded as crew members raced to their positions. The Vindicator was the pride of the human fleet, built after the last war as both a symbol of peace and a reminder of humanity's strength. "Sir," Morris called out, "we're being hailed by the lead Council vessel." "On screen," Miller ordered. The alien face that appeared belonged to General Voshtan, a reptilian Krell known for his hatred of humans. "Human vessel, this system is now under Council protection. Depart immediately or be destroyed." Miller stepped forward. "This system belongs to Earth. You've already committed one act of war today. I wouldn't recommend another." The Krell's scaled face showed no emotion. "You have 1 hour to evacuate all military personnel. Any resistance will be met with full force." The transmission cut off. "They're positioning for a firing solution," Garcia reported. Miller turned to Wright. "Send a tight beam transmission to Earth. Tell them we need Thunderclap now, not later." He looked out at the approaching Council ships, remembering the peace treaty signing just 3 years ago, the promises of cooperation, the hope for a shared future. All lies. "And Commander," Miller added quietly, "tell Director Norris that when this is over, I don't want peace talks. Not again. Never again." On Earth, Director Patricia Norris strode through the underground complex of the United Earth Defense Force. Technicians rushed around her, preparing systems that had remained dormant since their secret installation. Status report, she demanded as she entered the central command room. Chief Engineer George Simmons looked up from his console, his face pale from hours without sleep. 87% of the beacons are responding, Director. We're still trying to establish contact with the remaining 13%. Not good enough, Norris said. Protocol Thunderclap requires at least 95% coverage to ensure the message reaches every inhabited world. How long until we reach that threshold? Simmons wiped sweat from his forehead. 3 hours, maybe 4. Some of these beacons were planted during the last war. Their power cells might be degraded. We don't have 4 hours. The Vindicator is facing an entire battle group, Norris said. She turned to her assistant. Get me Lieutenant Powell. She needs to move now. Across the galaxy on Proxima Station, Lieutenant Samantha Powell adjusted the maintenance uniform she had stolen. The massive station served as the central communications hub for all Galactic Council worlds. Her mission was simple but nearly impossible. Ensure that when Thunderclap activated, nothing could block it. Powell slipped through crowded corridors, alien species of all kinds brushing past her. Her genetically modified features helped her blend in as a half-Altarian worker, but a full DNA scan would expose her instantly. She reached a service door and swiped the stolen access card. Inside, she found the quantum repeater hub, exactly where the intelligence reports said it would be. She pulled out a device no larger than her thumb and attached it to the main console. For New Eden, she whispered as she activated the device. It would create a bypass, ensuring the Thunderclap message would override all Council communications when activated. An alarm suddenly blared. Powell's heart raced. Had she been discovered? But the announcement that followed was about something else entirely. Attention all personnel. The human vessel at New Eden has engaged Council forces. All military staff report to duty stations immediately. Powell slipped out of the room. Her mission was complete, but now she needed to reach her extraction point before the station locked down. Back on the Vindicator, Admiral Miller watched as his ship shuddered under enemy fire. Shields at 60%, Ensign Garcia reported. We've taken out 2 of their cruisers, but the dreadnoughts are concentrating their fire on our port side. Commander Wright monitored the tactical display. Sir, we can't hold them off much longer without reinforcements. We just need to buy a little more time, Miller said. He opened a channel to engineering. How much longer on those special packages? Chief Engineer Laura Adams responded, her voice barely audible over the sounds of repairs in the background. Last one launching now. Admiral. All packages deployed. Miller nodded with grim satisfaction. While the battle raged, they had been secretly deploying small, stealthy drones throughout the system. Each carried a quantum-linked receiver that would amplify the Thunderclap signal when it came. His communication panel lit up with an incoming message from Earth. Thunderclap is go in 60 seconds. Director Norris announced. All friendly assets should prepare for the backlash. Miller gave the order to his crew. Secure all systems for communication surge. Throughout the ship, crew members hurried to protect sensitive equipment. What was about to happen had never been tested at full scale. Incoming fire. Wright shouted as the largest Council dreadnought launched a barrage that lit up space. Just as the blast was about to hit, every screen, console, and communication device across the Vindicator, and throughout Council space, went white. Then the message began to play, translated into every known language, impossible to mute or ignore. Attention all species of the Galactic Council. This is humanity speaking. Your leaders have betrayed not only us but you. They have broken our peace treaty and attacked our world without provocation. What follows will be their judgment, not yours. You have a choice. You have a chance. Escape now. In the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The Thunderclap message had played on every device, in every home, on every ship across Council space. Now the representatives of 27 species shouted over one another, demanding explanations. Ambassador Zixvan of the Trilari, a tall being with iridescent skin that shifted colors with his emotions, currently a deep angry red, stood on his platform. "Silence," he roared, his translator amplifying his voice above the din. "We were told this was a police action against human treaty violations. Now we learn it was an unprovoked attack." Supreme Elder Dravkosh, the ancient leader of the council, raised his four arms for quiet. His species, the Vrexel, were founders of the Galactic Council and had ruled it for centuries. "The humans exaggerate," he said, his voice raspy with age. "They expanded beyond agreed boundaries. We simply enforced the treaty." "Lies." The single word cut through the chamber. Eric Johnson, the human representative, walked to the center of the floor. According to protocol, no representative could speak from the center without recognition, but Johnson ignored the rules. "I have evidence," he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "The attack on New Eden was planned months ago, after geological surveys discovered quantum-stable duranium deposits. He activated a holographic display showing internal council communications, military orders, resource surveys, and most damning of all, mining equipment being prepared even before the attack. 30,000 civilians dead," Johnson continued, "for mining rights." Dravkosh's face remained impassive. "These documents are forgeries." Security removed the human representative. Two guards moved toward Johnson, but Ambassador Zixpan stepped between them. "I demand verification of these documents," the Trulari insisted. "If the Supreme Elder ordered an attack for resources rather than security, he has violated our most sacred laws." Other representatives began to join in, particularly those from newer council members. The chamber divided, with older species supporting Dravkosh, while newer members backed Zixvan and Johnson. In a private chamber adjacent to the main hall, Vice Elder Julia Martinez watched the proceedings on a monitor. Though her mother was human, she had kept her mixed heritage secret throughout her political rise, passing as a pure Altarian. Now, she found herself torn between her duty to the council and the horror of what had been done to her mother's people. Her aide entered with a datapad. "It's confirmed, Vice Elder. The documents are authentic." Supreme Elder Dravkosh personally ordered the attack and already signed mining contracts with Vrexel corporations. Martinez closed her eyes briefly, and the human warning. This thunderclap message. "It's everywhere. Our communications experts can't shut it down or block it." And the aide hesitated. "Speak," Martinez commanded. "Our intelligence suggests the humans have more plan than just a warning. There are reports of strange devices being deployed throughout council space by stealth ships." Martinez made her decision. She tapped her communicator, connecting to a secure channel used by only a few trusted allies. "This is Vice Elder Martinez. The human documents are verified. Dravkosh has betrayed not only humanity but the council itself. I am initiating Contingency Protocol 7. Back in the main chamber, the argument had devolved further. Several representatives had walked out in protest. Johnson stood firm, even as more security personnel surrounded him. "You should listen to the warning," Johnson said to those remaining. "The humans are giving your people a chance to escape what's coming." Dravkosh snorted. "Empty threats. The human fleet is nothing compared to council forces." "This isn't about fleets," Johnson replied. "Humanity learned something important after the last war. We learned that treaties with the council are worthless. So we prepared." Before Dravkosh could respond, an aide rushed to his side, whispering urgently. The Supreme Elder's expression changed from contempt to shock. "What do you mean, mass evacuations?" he demanded. Throughout council space, millions of civilians were already on the move, heading toward designated sanctuary points mentioned in the human warning. The exodus had begun. Captain Allison Murphy stood on the bridge of the civilian transport ship Mercy, watching as her flotilla of refugee vessels moved through space. What had begun as 12 ships leaving the council hub world of Vega Prime had grown to nearly 50 vessels of all sizes. "Status report," she called to her first officer. "We've got over 20,000 refugees now, Captain," said Paul Garcia. "Mostly Trilari and Altarians, but we've got at least 11 different species on board. Many are families of those who opposed the attack on New Eden." Murphy nodded. The human warning had been clear about which sanctuary points would be safe. Her flotilla was headed for the Arcturus system, designated as a primary safe zone. "How long until we reach the jump point?" she asked. 3 hours at current speed," Garcia replied. "But there's a problem. Long-range sensors are picking up Council warships moving to intercept us." Murphy frowned. "Show me." The tactical display revealed 5 heavy cruisers moving to cut off their escape route. They were under the command of General Voshtan, one of the most aggressive anti-human hardliners in the Council military. "They're hailing us," Garcia said. Murphy straightened her uniform. On screen, General Voshtan's reptilian face appeared, his scales darkening with anger. "Captain Murphy, you are transporting Council citizens without authorization. Return to Vega Prime immediately, or we will fire upon your vessels." "These people are civilians seeking asylum," Murphy replied. "They have the right to freedom of movement under Council law. They are fleeing based on human lies and propaganda." Voshtan hissed. "I will not ask again. Return now." The transmission cut off. Murphy turned to her communications officer. "Send an emergency signal to Arcturus Defense Command. Use the protocols we were given." "Captain," Garcia said, his voice low. "Even if help comes, it might not arrive in time. Those cruisers will be in firing range in 20 minutes. Murphy looked around at her bridge crew, then at the images of the refugee ships following them. Many were not designed for combat situations. They would be defenseless. "We continue on course," she said firmly. "Divert all non-essential power to the shields. Position the Mercy between the Council ships and the smaller vessels." One of the transport ships called in. "Captain Murphy, this is the Star Wanderer. We have 300 children on board. What should we do?" Murphy felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. "Stay behind us. We'll protect you." As the minutes ticked by, the Council ships grew larger on their screens. Murphy prepared herself to give the order to scatter the fleet, hoping at least some would escape when the sensor officer called out. "New contacts. Multiple signatures emerging from the asteroid field at Mark 317. Murphy turned to the display, expecting more Council ships. Instead, she saw human vessels, sleek and deadly, emerging from hiding. Leading them was the battle cruiser Defiance, commanded by Commodore Orion Bennett. "This is Commodore Bennett to all Council vessels," a strong voice announced on an open channel. "The refugee flotilla is under our protection. Withdraw immediately." On the Council flagship, General Voshtan snarled in rage. "The humans dare to challenge us. We outnumber them 2 to 1. His tactical officer looked uncertain. "General, these are not standard human ships. They appear to be their new Phantom-class vessels. Our scans are having trouble locking onto them." Voshtan slammed his fist down. "I don't care what class they are. Open fire." The Council cruisers launched their first volley, but the human ships moved with unexpected speed, their enhanced stealth systems confusing the targeting computers. The Defiance and its escorts returned fire with pinpoint accuracy, disabling the weapons on 2 Council ships with their first shots. From the Mercy, Murphy watched in amazement as the supposedly outmatched human ships danced around the larger Council vessels, striking key systems with surgical precision while taking minimal damage themselves. "Captain," Garcia said with awe in his voice, "they're buying us time to reach the jump point." Murphy nodded, relief and pride mingling in her chest. "Then let's not waste it. Maximum speed to Arcturus." The flotilla of refugee ships pushed forward, escaping toward safety while behind them. The battle between Council forces and their human protectors lit up the darkness of space. Deep beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Gregory Hayes checked the final calculations on his tablet. Around him, the massive chamber hummed with energy as Project Sunforge powered up for the first time. 30 years of research, billions in secret funding, and countless sacrifices had led to this moment. Power levels stable at 80%, reported a technician from her station. All systems nominal. Hayes nodded, his eyes never leaving the central platform where a small device, no larger than a basketball, pulsed with a soft blue light. It looked almost harmless, nothing like a weapon that could bring an interstellar empire to its knees. Dr. Hayes, call his assistant, Dr. Lisa Carter, from across the room. I need you to look at something. Hayes walked over to her workstation, where complex simulations ran across multiple screens. Carter was younger than most of the scientists on the team, but her brilliance had earned her a key role in the project. I've been running additional models on the wormhole collapse, she said quietly, making sure others couldn't hear. There's a pattern I didn't notice before. Hayes leaned in, studying the data. What am I looking at? Carter pointed to a series of energy signatures. If we adjust the quantum frequency by just 0.3%, we can create a selective collapse effect. Her eyes met his. We could take down only the military installation wormholes while leaving civilian transit points intact. Hayes stared at her. You're talking about sparing the Council's civilian worlds. Yes, she said simply. We can still cripple their military, cut off their key strongholds from each other, but we don't have to strand billions of innocent people. Hayes ran a hand through his gray hair. The directive from command was clear. Total network collapse. Because they didn't know this was possible, Carter countered. We'd still achieve the strategic objective. Their military would be scattered across dozens of systems, unable to coordinate or reinforce each other. Before Hayes could respond, the facility's alarms blared to life. Red emergency lights bathed the laboratory in an eerie glow. Security breach in Sector 7, announced the automated system. All personnel implement lockdown procedures. Hayes rushed to the main console. Status report. The security chief's voice came through the speakers. Council infiltration team, sir. They've breached the outer perimeter. At least 12 hostiles, heavily armed. How did they find this facility? Carter asked, already working to secure their data. Hayes' expression hardened. It doesn't matter now. Initiate Protocol Omega. No one outside this room knows the full capabilities of Sunforge. We need to keep it that way. Throughout the facility, blast doors sealed shut as researchers grabbed weapons from emergency lockers. They were scientists, not soldiers, but every person working on Sunforge had received basic combat training. They knew what was at stake. Dr. Hayes, Carter said urgently, let me implement the frequency adjustment before we lock down the system. Please. Hayes hesitated. The mission parameters were explicit. Complete destruction of the Council's wormhole network. But the human warning had promised to spare innocent civilians. Could they do less? Do it, he decided. Quickly. Carter's fingers flew across her console, making the delicate adjustments to the quantum matrix. There, she said finally. It's done. The sound of weapons fire echoed from a neighboring corridor. The Council assassins were getting closer. Seal the inner doors, Hayes ordered. Prepare to defend the core. The scientists took positions behind equipment, makeshift barricades, and support columns. The security team, though outnumbered, moved with professional precision to cover the main entrance. Carter joined Hayes behind a heavy console, clutching a pulse pistol in shaking hands. If they breach this room, destroy the control systems, Hayes told her. The primary device is hardened against attack, but the targeting matrix is vulnerable. The weapons fire grew louder. The outer defenses were falling. Do you think it will work? Carter asked. The selective collapse. Hayes checked his own weapon. It has to. Otherwise, we're no better than they are. The massive doors to the laboratory shuddered as something heavy slammed against them. The Council forces had arrived. Hayes looked at the Sunforge device one last time. Its blue pulse now steady and strong, ready to reshape the galaxy. Whatever happens here, he told Carter and the others, remember that we tried to be better. We gave them a warning. We gave them a chance to escape. The rest is up to them. The doors began to glow red as cutting tools worked against the reinforced metal. Time was running out. Admiral Frank Miller stood before the massive view screen in Earth's Defense Command Center. The room was silent as he prepared to deliver humanity's final message to the Galactic Council. Behind him, Director Patricia Norris and the Joint Chiefs watched with grim expressions. Miller straightened his uniform and nodded to the communications officer. Begin broadcast on all channels. His face appeared on screens across Council space as the Thunderclap network activated once more. This time, there would be no interference, no way to block the message. This is Admiral Frank Miller of the United Earth Defense Force. You have 48 hours. All friendly or neutral species must evacuate Council space immediately. What follows is not war, it is justice. Miller's voice remained steady, but his eyes reflected a cold determination. For 3 years, we honored our treaty with the Council. We limited our expansion. We shared our technology. We extended the hand of friendship. In return, the Council murdered 30,000 of our citizens on New Eden. He paused, letting the accusation hang in the air. We have confirmed that this attack was not a rogue action, but a calculated decision by Supreme Elder Dravkosh and the Inner Circle, motivated by greed for resources on our world. The broadcast showed images of the destruction on New Eden, followed by the leaked Council documents proving the conspiracy. Humanity will no longer recognize the authority of the current Galactic Council. We are prepared to establish a new galactic order with those species who wish to live in true peace. But first, justice must be served. Miller's expression softened slightly. To the civilians of all species, we bear you no ill will. We have established safe zones at the following coordinates. Our ships will protect any vessel seeking refuge. A list of sanctuary locations appeared on the broadcast. 48 hours. Choose wisely. As the broadcast ended, Captain Nathan Rogers piloted his stealth ship through the darkness near one of the Council's primary military wormhole stations. 5 similar ships moved in perfect coordination, each approaching a different section of the massive structure. All units in position, his second-in-command reported. Ready to deploy on your mark. Rogers checked the status of the mysterious device in their cargo hold, one of 50 being placed at strategic points throughout Council territory. Each looked like a simple navigation beacon. Their true purpose was known only to those with the highest security clearance. Deploy, Rogers ordered. Across Council space, similar scenes played out as human stealth ships placed the devices near military bases, fleet staging areas, and command centers. Not a single ship was detected. On the Council homeworld, panic spread through the streets as civilians rushed spaceports, desperate to flee before the human deadline expired. Council military forces tried to maintain order, but their authority was crumbling. In an emergency session, Supreme Elder Dravkosh faced a chamber now half empty, as many representatives had already evacuated. This is nothing but human trickery, he insisted. They cannot possibly have a weapon capable of threatening the entire Council. Their ships are being tracked and intercepted. Ambassador Zixvan of the Trillary stepped forward. My people are already evacuating to the human sanctuary points. I suggest you do the same. Supreme Elder, the humans do not make idle threats. Traitor, Dravkosh snarled. Anyone who flees is committing treason against the Council. Zixvan's skin shifted to a calm blue. The Council betrayed itself when it attacked innocent civilians for resources. I formally withdraw the Trillary from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. One by one, other representatives made similar declarations, their species choosing to side with humanity or declare neutrality. Back on Earth, Director Norris reviewed the latest reports. All human outposts in Council space have been evacuated. The refugee flotillas are arriving at sanctuary points. Sunforge devices are in position. Miller nodded, looking at the countdown on the main screen. 47-6-22. And Project Sunforge itself, he asked. Norris frowned. We lost contact with the lunar facility an hour ago. Council forces breached the outer defenses. Dr. Hayes' last message confirmed the weapon is operational, but they're under heavy attack. Miller closed his eyes briefly. More sacrifices in a conflict that had already claimed too many lives. "Send in the Lunar Defense Force," he ordered. "We need to secure that facility at all costs." The countdown continued its relentless progress toward zero. Supreme Elder Dravkosh entered his private chambers, dismissing his guards with a sharp gesture. The council session had been a disaster. 8 more species had formally withdrawn from the alliance. His power was slipping away with each passing hour. He activated his secure communication terminal. "General Voshtan, report." The reptilian commander appeared on screen. "The humans continue to interfere with our attempts to stop the evacuation. Their stealth ships are more effective than we anticipated." "I didn't ask for excuses," Dravkosh snapped. "What about the special project?" Voshtan's scales darkened. "The planet killer is ready. We can launch within 6 hours." "Do it. Target Earth directly. Let's see how brave these humans are when their homeworld hangs in the balance." The general hesitated. "Supreme Elder, such an action violates all council laws regarding." "I am the council." Dravkosh slammed his fist down. "Execute my orders or be replaced." After the transmission ended, Dravkosh heard a soft sound behind him. He turned to find his own personal guard, Captain Krell, standing with weapon drawn. "What is the meaning of this?" Dravkosh demanded. "By order of Vice Elder Julia Martinez, you are relieved of duty," Krell stated flatly. "The use of a planet killer against a populated world is a war crime under our own laws." The door opened, and Vice Elder Martinez entered, flanked by more guards. Her typically perfect appearance was disheveled, her silver hair falling loose around her face. "You," Dravkosh hissed. "You dare to challenge me?" "The council voted while you were planning genocide," Martinez said. "You have been removed from office. Surrender peacefully." Dravkosh laughed. "You think this changes anything? The planet killer launches in 6 hours. Earth will be destroyed, and this human rebellion will collapse." Captain Krell's weapon did not waver. "Tell us how to recall the order." "There is no recall," Dravkosh said with a cruel smile. "The launch sequence is automated. Once initiated, it cannot be stopped." Martinez stepped closer. "Then we'll evacuate Earth. We'll warn them. Our communications to human space have been blocked." Dravkosh replied. "Another precaution I took. By the time you restore communications, it will be too late." In a swift motion, Captain Krell fired his weapon. Dravkosh collapsed, a smoking hole in his chest. Martinez stared at the guard in shock. "Apologies, Vice Elder," Krell said calmly, "but we needed to know if he was bluffing." "He wasn't. The planet killer is launching, and we cannot recall it or warn Earth." Martinez took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Then we need someone who can intercept it. Someone already in position." Commander Daniel Wright reviewed the sensor data one more time. His small task force of 5 ships had been positioned in the outer reaches of the solar system as an early warning line. Now they had detected something massive coming through the nearest council wormhole. "Identification confirmed," his sensor officer reported grimly. "It's a planet killer, sir. Same class as the one that destroyed the Arcturus colony during the last war." Wright's jaw tightened. He had lost his wife and daughter on New Eden. Now Earth itself was threatened. "Calculate its trajectory," he ordered. "Direct course for Earth, sir. At current speed, impact in 5 hours and 17 minutes. Wright opened a channel to all ships in his task force. "This is Commander Wright. We've all seen the scans. We know what's coming. Our mission is to intercept and destroy that weapon before it reaches Earth." There was a moment of silence before his executive officer spoke up. "Sir, even if we hit it with everything we have, our weapons might not be enough to destroy it completely." Wright nodded. "I know. That's why I'm taking the Defender in alone. The rest of you will stay back as a secondary line of defense." "Sir," his XO protested, "that's a suicide mission." "I'm aware," Wright said quietly. "But if we can get close enough, we can overload our drive core. The explosion should be sufficient to destroy the planet killer." No one spoke. They all understood the stakes. Wright studied the faces of his crew on the Defender. "I'm not ordering anyone to stay on board. Transfer to the other ships is available for the next 30 minutes. His executive officer straightened. "No need, sir. We're with you." One by one, the crew voiced their agreement. They had all lost someone in this conflict. They all understood the price of failure. Wright opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. "This is Commander Wright to Earth. We've detected a planet killer headed your way. We're moving to intercept. If we fail, prepare the Sunforge. Don't wait for the deadline." He turned to his navigator. "Set course to intercept. Maximum speed." The Defender broke formation, accelerating toward the massive weapon that threatened to end humanity's existence. The Defender raced toward the planet killer, pushing its engines beyond safety limits. On the bridge, Commander Daniel Wright watched as the massive weapon grew larger on the view screen. 2 minutes to intercept, reported his navigator, voice steady despite the knowledge that these were likely their final moments. Wright opened a channel to the crew. "All hands, secure stations and prepare for impact. It has been my greatest honor to serve with each of you." He turned to his executive officer. "Begin core overload sequence. Set it to detonate on impact." The planet killer loomed before them, a dark sphere bristling with energy projectors. It had no defenses against ships. Its designers never imagined anyone would deliberately ram it. "Core overload in progress," the engineering chief reported. "Sir, we're getting strange energy readings from the planet killer. It's changing course." Wright leaned forward. "Confirm that." "Confirmed. It's adjusting to avoid us." Wright slammed his fist on the console. "Stay with it, whatever it takes." The Defender rolled sharply, engines screaming as they strained to match the planet killer's unexpected maneuverability. The two objects danced through space, predator and prey. "We can't keep this up," the navigator warned. "Engines are failing." Wright made his decision. "Drop all remaining power to the engines. Give me one final burst of speed, straight at that thing." The Defender surged forward, catching the planet killer as it attempted another evasive maneuver. The impact shook the ship violently, alarms blaring throughout the vessel. "Core overload in 10 seconds, the computer announced calmly. Wright closed his eyes, thinking of his wife and daughter. "New Eden," he whispered. "This is for you." The Defender's core detonated, creating a blinding flash that temporarily overwhelmed Earth's long-range sensors. When the light faded, both the Defender and the planet killer were gone, replaced by an expanding cloud of debris. In Earth's Defense Command Center, Admiral Miller watched the final transmission from the Defender cut to static. The room fell silent in tribute to Wright's sacrifice. Director Norris stepped forward. "Admiral, the Lunar Defense Force has secured the Sunforge facility. Dr. Hayes and Dr. Carter survived the attack. They report the device is ready." Miller nodded solemnly. "The countdown stands at 12 minutes. Have all friendly species completed evacuation?" "Reports indicate 97% evacuation rate from designated zones," an officer reported. "Some civilian transports are still en route to sanctuary points." Miller faced the difficult decision: delay and risk giving the Council time to launch another attack, or activate Sunforge now and potentially strand some civilians. His communication panel lit up with an incoming transmission. "This is Acting Council Leader Julia Martinez. I speak now for what remains of the Galactic Council. We request a ceasefire and immediate negotiations." Miller's expression remained unchanged. "The time for negotiations has passed. You had your chance for peace, and you chose betrayal. We have removed Supreme Elder Dravkosh from power," Martinez insisted. "Those responsible for the attack on New Eden will face justice. Please, there are still innocent people in Council space. The countdown continues, Miller replied. If you truly care for your people, use these final minutes to help them escape. The transmission ended, and Miller turned to Norris. Proceed with Sunforge activation. On the moon, Dr. Hayes and Dr. Carter made their final adjustments to the device. Carter's hands moved swiftly over the controls, implementing her modified settings. Ready for activation, she reported. Hayes placed his hand on the scanner. Initiating Sunforge in 3, 2, 1. The small device pulsed once, then released a wave of energy unlike anything humanity had created before. The wave spread outward, invisible but unstoppable, reaching toward the quantum anchors of the Council's wormhole network. Throughout Council space, military wormholes began to collapse. Massive structures that had taken decades to build dissolved in seconds. Command centers found themselves suddenly isolated, cut off from their fleets. Warships in transit were thrown back into normal space, scattered across thousands of light years. But the civilian transit points remained intact, pathways still open for those seeking refuge. 3 months later, Admiral Miller stood in a conference room on neutral territory. Across from him sat Julia Martinez, now the confirmed leader of the Reformed Council. The treaty is ready for your signature, she said, sliding the document toward him. Miller reviewed the terms one last time. Equal representation for all species, shared access to resources, mutual defense agreements, and most importantly, acknowledgement of humanity's rightful place in the galaxy. This will not bring back those we lost, he said quietly. No, Martinez agreed. Nothing can do that, but it can prevent more losses in the future. As Miller signed the document, he thought of Commander Wright and all those who had sacrificed themselves. The galaxy had been reshaped, not by total destruction, but by humanity's choice to temper justice with mercy. In her laboratory on Earth, Dr. Carter studied ancient records recovered from Council archives. Among them, she found references to a species that had manipulated both humans and the Council for centuries, creating conflicts that weakened both sides. According to the records, that species would return soon, expecting to find a galaxy divided and vulnerable. Instead, they would face a united front, forged in the fire of betrayal, but strengthened by the choice to rise above it. Carter smiled as she closed the file. The real test was yet to come, but humanity would be ready.